Welcome to Aha Moments, the podcast where we explore the breakthroughs and insights that shape our professional journeys. Whether you're a new teacher finding your way or a seasoned educator seeking fresh ideas, we've got you covered. In each episode, we dive into the hearts and the minds of our very own Pinellas County teachers and share challenges, triumphs, tips, and strategies. Get ready to be inspired, learning something new, and experience your very own aha moments. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Aha Moments. Today, we have a very special episode where we are diving deep into student engagement in the classroom, what it means, how it's achieved, and what practical strategies teachers can use to connect with their students. I'm your host, Robin Ford, and I'm joined today with my co-host.
Hi, I'm Wendy Noun. I'm the elementary science content specialist, and science is all about student engagement, so I'm excited to join in on the conversation.
Absolutely, Wendy. Thank you. Joining us today are two phenomenal educators. We've got Joe Eberhard, a fourth grade teacher at Sanderlin, and Laura Mosel, a fifth grade teacher at Madeira Beach Fundamental. Welcome, Joe and Laura.
It's great to see both of you.
Thanks for having us. All right, Joe, let's get started with you.
My turn.
Yes.
Go ahead.
You've had a dynamic journey in education, from department lead to assistant principal to science coach and now a teacher. Can you tell us more about your path and what motivated you to move from leadership roles back to teaching?
That's a great question. I like to see education as opportunities, snapshots to be able to understand what's really going on in public education or education at large. I didn't ever get started in education itself to become an administrator. That's just the path that I found the most challenging and most rewarding at the time. But coming here to Pinellas County, I originally was in Miami-Dade. I looked for opportunities to kind of give back and build a better future for our students of the county that I grew up in. I grew up here in Pinellas County, and looking for opportunities to make that, not only that commitment known, but also to make that commitment to other students and teachers has been a very humble experience. And every day I'm learning new things on how to impact learning in the classroom, how to impact a school, the culture of a school, and how to really become a member of the Pinellas County Schools family.
Thank you.
That's an impressive path you've led. So thinking about that, how have those different experiences influenced your teaching style in the classroom?
Every single experience has almost been like popping a bubble of perspective. Everything we see is kind of a narrow scope, and we believe that our little world that we live in is in that little bubble. But every time a new experience has come, I pop the bubble and I take a step back and I can see how things are more and more connected. So just specifically talking about moving from the administrative position back into the classroom, I see how everything's connected. I understand exactly what needs to be done. And what's better about that now for me is I never wait for something to get taken care of. I'm always on top of things so that I can make that impact as much as I can. So not only will I make the changes within my classroom, but I take it upon myself to go around the building because it's my responsibility to make sure that the school that I'm at is the premier school within Pinellas County. That's how I see it. So I will take it upon myself to reach out to all my colleagues. What can I do for you? What kind of things are we working on? And that means a lot to me.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So Laura, you've also worn many hats. You were the Champs coach, safety patrol sponsor, and now you're a seasoned fifth grade teacher. So I'm curious, what drew you into teaching and what has kept you engaged over the years?
I have wanted to be a teacher since I was in third grade. I loved my teacher and I was just enamored with her captivating way of just making every day exciting. I wanted to go to school and learn from her. So I decided then I wanted to be a teacher. And as time went on, I wasn't sure if I wanted to go more of the high school route. I loved math and I felt like I was confident with it. But I observed in a high school and I thought, I don't know that this is maybe the route I want to take. So I loved kids as well, babysat all of my life. So switched gears and went to elementary. And I started in South St. Pete at Fairmount Park Elementary in third grade. And I loved it. It was a difficult journey for sure, because I felt like I was the stable adult in many of those kids' lives. And it was a burden to worry about all of the things that they were dealing with outside of school, and how I expected them to then come into class ready to go when maybe they hadn't had breakfast or they didn't have a good night's sleep. So trying to kind of compartmentalize that and still set them up for academic success, but also finding ways to enrich their lives as a whole and teach them life lessons and just let them know that they were loved and cared about, and that it's not all about the grades and the test scores. Those things are important, but also, building social skills and friendships and things that would carry them, ahead in life. And then I transferred to Madeira, and I taught 4th grade math science, which was cool to see the teaming option of things. And then I've been in 5th grade now this is like year 12 or a long time.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's been fun, and I've loved every grade level I've taught, and all of the different, roles that I've taken on at the different schools I've been at. I substitute taught before I started teaching, and so that was kind of neat just to take everything in and say, how can I be like that 3rd grade teacher? I want to be like that for at least one student, hopefully lots.
Sure.
And, and make it a fun day that involves learning.
Can you go in a little deeper when you're saying you want to be that 3rd grade teacher, you wanted to embody some of that? Like what specifically, how did that teacher make you feel, or what specific things did she do that had that impact on you?
So in elementary school, I was quiet, rule follower, nervous, and I wanted to do really well. And she was still able to make me feel safe and loved, and that it was okay to make mistakes. And if I wanted to work on the floor because I felt more comfortable there, that was okay. And if a kid wanted to stand at their desk while they were working, that was okay. And so just kind of finding the individual things that we each needed to be successful, I think is something I really took to heart, because as time went on, school, it gets more challenging academically and socially. And
so do you bring that into your class, that student choice, that student voice? Because that sounds like that was important.
Yes, it's huge. I know that kids learn differently, and, we don't have to put a label on it, kinesthetic learner and all of that. It's just today you might need to use a flexible seating option, but tomorrow you might need a regular chair. And, today you might need to sit close to me because of what we're doing academically, or because you had a rough morning, but tomorrow you might not need that accommodation. And so I feel like, no matter what the paperwork says or what, is expected of me, I want to make sure I'm meeting those students' needs, because they change all the time throughout the day, from day to day. And so it's still very important to me on a daily basis with my kids.
Yeah, thank you. Mm-hmm. So Jo, did you have any, coming from an administrator or a coach role, do you feel like you have any insight? I know you said that you had ownership of the building and of the people and that sort of thing, but thinking about your students and how you engage with them, do you bring any of that insight into your classroom with your students? Like, how do you do that?
My job is to know my students like the back of my hand, to have a pulse on where they are and their understanding of the world and who they want to be. I always start off with them discovering who they are. Who am I? And where do I want to go? And that's what I tie into everything that we do. If they understand that challenge is always going to be there, that's something that I've learned. Whether it be in the role as a teacher or administrator or a coach, there's going to be so many challenges. That's not something we need to be afraid of. And there's going to be challenges one day where they might have problems in the math or the science or the reading or whatever it may be. Those challenges and those struggles are going to be there. What I try to encourage them to do is to, what I always say, is embrace the challenge, learn and grow. It is a process where I must understand where the students are and then be able to help push them every single day. So I'm doing many things like you said about fulfilling many different roles. One day I might be more of like the sternness of a father, but the care of a mother, the accountability and responsibility that a coach might provide for them, helping push them past their comfort zone. So it's just really that understanding of where are the students and understanding where they want to go and tie that in.
Yeah.
Oh, didn't you say you wanted to do this? Great, let's work on that.
Yeah. I think this is great. I think you guys have both given us a kind of a background into how your history has led to your actual teaching philosophy, how your personal experiences have actually sort of guided your who you are as a teacher now. But we want to dig into maybe some more specific strategies.
So let's talk strategies. Joe, you mentioned that student engagement happens when students feel intrinsically connected to the content. So can you share with us a specific strategy or two that you use to make real-world connections that brings your lessons to life and relatable to students or for students?
Definitely. I believe it's probably something that I've brought every year with me, but we always start every single week outlining their targets and identifying the action steps of what they're going to do to get there. I play no role in them helping identify what their target, what they're going to work towards is. I play no role in making sure that their action steps are aligned other than saying, okay, you might want to double check that. They automatically start each week saying, okay, this is something I'm going to work on, and it actually matters to my life goals, what I'm working towards. I said already, who am I and where do I want to go? Yeah. That's something that's something that I need to draw and emphasize when I'm doing any kind of instruction. It doesn't even matter what it is. If they have a clear idea about what they're doing and how that might relate to the pathway that they're taking, it becomes so much easier for me as the instructor to be able to engage them because they already know this matters to me. And I can just draw upon that and use real life lessons and stories from my own personal life. That's one thing that when you're a new teacher or a newer teacher, you're kind of afraid to show your true colors because you may not come off as that teacher that you had as a kid. But I learned the more experience that I have, the more that I can open up, the more that I can show them the struggles that I've probably had to face or the struggles that we all face as humans. It becomes much easier for them to relate and have authentic learning experiences.
So you just mentioned storytelling, and how you can use stories about yourself and about your past as a powerful tool. So can you go a little deeper with that? Can you give an example of something that you've shared with students?
Yeah, definitely. I've been blessed to have many different life experiences to be able to promote my understanding of things. And a lot of times I'll use specific examples through my experience in school itself. Maybe I wasn't so great at a certain subject area, and I'll tell the story about what I did with that and how I dealt with that challenge and how I learned to embrace and find out what that strength may have been. I had a little bit difficulty in specifically my language arts classes. And what I was able to do is understand that through reading, through writing, through mastery of the English language, you develop your own personal connection to your voice as an individual. And being able to have that connection to your voice and being able to read and write in a manner that helps out with their learning, that helps them really connect with what we're doing. So they'll enjoy picking apart a particular text. They'll enjoy the reading that we do, whether it be at home or in the classroom. So I know that's not necessarily a specific story of my life. There's just so many things that are particular to the setting. Oh, we're reading a story about this character. Okay, what is going on? Okay, I had an experience quite like this. Or I even open it up to the students. Tell me a story about maybe a time you could relate to or make.
And how do you find the students reacting when you're sharing a story or when they get a chance to share a story?
You know, when you take time for opportunities of authenticity, you capture them. It's like you're feeding them what we all want. We all want to be heard. We all want to be listened to. We all want to feel that we are part of this human experience together. And if I could explain to you in words the picture that I see in my mind when I look across the room and I'm telling this story with all appropriate pauses and emphasis on certain parts of that feeling that I had in that moment, they're looking at me just like you guys are looking at me now. Like there's something amazing that happens in that moment. And those are the things I didn't know until I went back into the classroom.
Yeah, that's great. So Laura, you shared some that personal stories help you become more relatable to your students as well. So what kind of personal connections have you found that have resonated?
So I agree with Joe. I mean, just the authenticity of being real, of you being an actual person. I feel like even to this day, there's like this feeling of, your teacher lives at school and doesn't have, outside experiences. And so, literally today we were talking about the 3 types of rocks. And this summer I was lucky enough to go with my family out west. And
Fantastic.
so it was, just perfect to just say, oh, look, and here we are here. Oh, what is this? What kind of rock is this? And what happened here? Why do you think this happened? And it just to show pictures of me actually touching a rock. What kind of rock is it? And why do you think that is? And how do you think it was formed? And they're like, wow, look, you really were there. It's not just like a random picture. It's like my actual teacher. And then I have 3 kids, and my middle son is actually in 5th grade this year. So then them saying, oh, look, I know him. I'm like, I know, he was there too. It's cool to make those real life connections and show them that we're people too, and that we're able to make, learning authentic. If another word, but just that connecting what we're doing in the classroom, that it's not just to pass the test or to get a good score or because we have to learn these standards, but that these are real things that we can bring, the lesson that the character's learning in whatever book we're reading, or, whatever it is that we're writing about could be something that affects us in the future, science-wise. It's a really cool thing, and they're very engaged when we are talking about personal experiences with us. And so that makes, it just all around a better experience for everybody.
Yeah, Laura, I relate to that. When my children were in high school, I taught at the high school they went to, and it was a different level when I'm teaching their friends, and they see you in a different, they're at my house sometimes, and like I'm just a just a person. And
You're a regular person.
But it elevated the experience, I think.
Yes, I think it's a cool experience. And then I have a middle schooler now, and so then I can make that connection to, well, I know for sure when you get into middle school, you're not just me saying that anymore, but now having the other experience on the parent side, it's kind of a neat connection as well to just say, I understand what your parents are going through, and that, they have a lot to do as a parent. And so how can you be a supportive student and learner and be responsible for yourself so you can be ready for middle school? Because I feel like that's part of my role as well. 5th grade, last elementary, it's a big year, and just making sure that they feel confident going into middle school.
I love that you both have shared ways that you share stories with your students. So, Laura, tell me, you were talking about that, and that you're more than just a teacher. Like you said, you don't live at school. You have a home, you have a life, and you shared experiences from your vacation. So how do you balance sharing those personal experiences while also maintaining and keeping a focus on the lesson? For
sure. I feel like, I could talk all day about my personal experiences, and they would just be, smitten with, excitement to just hear all of the storytelling, because that's fun. But I try to limit it to truly what is on target with what we're doing, right? I have a outline of what needs to happen, where can I make those connections? So I'm not always able to show every vacation picture that I've been able to be on, but when it's tied to the content and truly relevant, then I'm really going to get the most bang for my buck by pulling out the pictures then, for sure. Yeah. It's a balance, because
Definitely.
We can get off topic and whatnot, but like Joe was saying, we serve a lot of roles, and that sometimes we're the nurse or the parent or the guidance counselor, aside from just the educator. And if they don't feel safe and loved and in a good space emotionally, then they're not going to be able to take in anything academic anyway. So absolutely, that's first and foremost, build those relationships and the connections.
Yeah, and if I might add, I think a lot of times when I might share a personal anecdote, it's going to be an inspired moment. It's going to be a moment where I feel like they will get the most out of it. And that's what learning is. It's an inspired moment. Yeah. When a child learns something and has an aha, that's inspiring. So true. That's a culture that you create within the classroom. If you give space for inspiration, it will grow in magnitudes.
Yeah.
So if you have a lesson that you have learned from life that will relate to the lesson itself, I think that exponentially grows the amount of learning that happens in the classroom.
Yeah. No, thank you, Joe. That's really important. building strong relationships and the real world connections and stories is definitely a common thread here. Well, we want to dig a little bit deeper and think about what are applicable strategies. So Joe, let's think about what can you do to get the kids, to hook them, to get them engaged right when they walk in the room. Do you have anything, do you have any little magic tricks that you do?
I know that I'm playing a role sometimes. I hate to say this, but
we are performers.
Yeah, exactly. So I will be over the top character.
Yeah.
You know, if I wasn't on a mic right now, I would show you and throw up my arms and just be bigger than life. Some days it requires me to be bigger than life, and sometimes it requires me small as a mouse. You know, and each one of those is just one of the tools that I use. You know, as far as actual examples of things that we might do as strategies, I think it comes as a full picture. Like, do we already have our targets? Do we have our action plan in place? What role am I playing that day? What do the students need, or what are we working on? That's where it really is the educator that has this masterful, almost like a symphonic orchestra, where you've got awareness of everything that's going on in your melodic like creation. Yeah. So as a teacher, I'm using everything I can. And sometimes it's going to be, most of the time, it's always going to be something that relates to them as a person, you know, and that's how I'm always going to get them involved in the action. Now, I'm gifted in the fact that, or blessed that I'm in elementary now, so I've got a lot of the kids most of the day. But I know if I'm a middle school teacher, that's a different perspective. Or if I'm a secondary high school teacher, all those little snippets are going to be a little bit different. But I'm still aware at the same time that I'm going to be able to portray the information in a way that's captivating. I'm going to get them, and they know that I'm being an authentic, real person while delivering whatever instruction that we have.
So, Laura, Joe talked about how to hook your learners. So we all know that sometimes students' attentions can wander. So could you share with us a strategy that you use to help re-engage and sort of bring back your students?
I think, to kind of tack on to what Joe was saying, I mean, I think that the performer piece of it is huge, because there are moments when some of the required content might not be super exciting. Some people might think rocks are not very exciting, but it's how it's presented, right? And so my job is to facilitate that learning, to then pass it on to them so they can, you know, learn from one another within cooperative learning and whatever it is that we have set up to facilitate it further. But I feel like, you know, making myself aware of what's going on, proximity, moving around, monitoring what's happening, letting them know, even with just nonverbal things, that I'm with you. You know, I know you came back from PE and you had a headache, and I see that your head is down. So I might just give you a little, okay, sit up, try it again. You know, let's just some small things to say that I'm here, I'm with you, I understand. We all have moments when we need to take a mental break, take a physical break, but that we do have jobs to do, and we all have to be accountable for our learning. And so that includes me making sure that they're holding themselves to those high standards, because, you know, it's sometimes easier to take the easy way out. And so I don't want them to give up on themselves. And so that's my job, to inspire, encourage, and promote that positivity, even when they feel like maybe they don't have it in themselves.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I think you bringing the energy and you giving them grace and all of those things are very important. So thank you. So as we wrap up, I want you guys to think for just a moment about what is one piece of advice you would give a brand new teacher who is struggling to get engagement with their students, maybe that we didn't talk about yet.
Oh, that we didn't talk about yet. I feel like we've really hit the nail on the head with everything we've discussed. I think it's huge to connect with your kids. You know, when they're coming in, even obviously from the beginning, first day, make a connection, build that culture in your room. But, you know, if you're even starting now and you're thinking, how can I re-engage them? How can I?
So let's get more specific on that. So if you're saying, how do you, like, you greet your students. So what does that look like? So if you're a new teacher, like physically, where do they stand? How do they engage them?
So I stand at the door every day so that they have the opportunity to see me first. I'm opening the door, greeting each one of them as they come in, saying hello, good morning, hi, a compliment here or there. Hey, how was the soccer game last night? Or, oh, I love your new haircut, just some kind of way to connect. And then after everybody's into the room and they're unpacking and whatnot, I go around to each child individually. And then we have like a little, it's quick, but it's an opportunity for me to pick up homework, look at their agenda, see if there's any notes, and then just connect so that there I can see, did you have a rough morning? Do I need to treat you with a little extra care today? Or
So what I hear you saying is that you do actually like 2 small checks with them at the beginning.
Yep.
You greet them at the door and then you have a quick check-in.
correct, before anything academic happens.
Fantastic.
You have
Thank
to
you.
have that.
For sure.
Joe, what about you?
If I'm going to give any advice to a brand new teacher, that would be you are the master of your classroom. And the reason why I say that is because there's been many times when I put together amazing plans and watched them crumble to pieces after I've tried to deliver a great lesson plan, right? And the reason why I say you are the master of your classroom is because you can always come in the next day and say, you know what? What we did yesterday, it didn't work, did it? So guess what? What we're going to do today is going to make a lot more sense. So it's almost like that, just open authenticity with the students saying, hey, guess what? That didn't work. And this is what we're going to do moving forward.
I love that, Joe. Thank you. That's great.
Every day is a fresh start.
Yes, it is. Even for the teacher sometimes.
That's right.
Yes.
Yes.
God.
Yes. All right. Thank you guys both so much. We are going to end our podcast with a lightning round.
Okay.
So we're going to do a quick this or that little session. We're going to start with you, Laura.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I hope so.
Okay. Small group discussions or whole class debates?
Oh, I would say debates. Everybody's engaged.
Okay, great. Hands-on activities or digital learning tools?
Hands-on.
Hands-on. Routine consistency or spontaneous flexibility?
I'm routines.
Okay. Celebrating small wins daily or big wins at the end of a project?
Small wins every day.
Awesome.
Find something positive.
Coffee before class or during?
Both.
That was the right answer.
Okay, Joe, your turn. Morning check-ins or end-of-day reflections?
Can I say both?
I know. Like the coffee one. Sure.
Both would be important.
Absolutely.
Okay, peer collaboration or independent exploration?
Pure collaboration.
All right, movement-based learning like stations or calm-focused work time?
Stations.
Theme days like Science Friday or surprise engagement activities?
I'd say surprise.
Surprise. And the last one, building relationships one-on-one or fostering whole class community.
A one-on-one.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, Joe and Laura, I want to thank you both very much for such an engaging discussion today.
Being a part of this.
Yes, thank you.
Definitely.
Thank you.
And thank you to our listeners for tuning into the Aha Moments podcast.
And be sure to tune in next time for more
Aha Moments.
Thank you.
Thank you.